Episode 473 with our good friend Bryant Meyers is brought to you by a couple really cool products. One is the Bellicon Rebounder. Now, let me just read to you the 10 of the top health benefits of rebounding, which is basically jumping on a mini trampoline. Number 1, it increases white blood cells. It helps to stimulate the lymphatic system, helps to detoxify the body, helps to boost energy, helps to improve digestion, improves varicose veins. It's great for weight loss, and it is a cancer preventer. It helps to build bone mass. It helps to reduce cellulite, and it's just an incredible exercise. It increases endorphins and so much more. I do it every day for 30 minutes now. I've gone from 25 minutes to 30 minutes on the Bellicon Rebounder. The Bellicon is great because it's got an incredible warranty. It has got flexi ropes and not springs, so it's silent. You can fold the legs in. They have handlebars to help for balance. It's an incredible machine, and we highly, highly recommend it. I've had mine for many, many years, so go check it out now. And we're also brought to you by the Relax Far Infrared Sauna. Now, the sauna is great for improving circulation. It accelerates metabolism. It opens the skin pores, cleanses the skin. It boosts the immune system by up to 40% by increasing heat shock proteins. It uses energy and burns calories. It relaxes the body and the mind. It's great for stress relief. It helps the body release toxins, and it's a great form of exercise. It helps to regulate its temperature and to cool down. It's great for anti-aging, produces softer skin, and the Bellicon is incredible because it's affordable for one, but it's also portable, so you can lend it to a friend. You can break it down easily. It uses far infrared technology, which is incredibly beneficial for going deep into the skin, into the organs. I cannot recommend sweating enough, particularly in this particular sauna. It is amazing. Now, the sauna price will be increasing soon, so grab yours today before the price increases. I wanted to let you know that. And you can purchase both the Bellicon Rebounder and the Relax Far Infrared Sauna at extremehealthradio.com/473. And both of those are in our store as well. All right, thanks everybody so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. This is episode number 473 of extremehealthradio.com. Thanks for joining us. We do shows 3 days a week right now on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Fridays. So thanks for joining us with all kinds of really, really cool people. All of our shows are free. So if you are just finding us for the first time and you want to peruse our archives, you can go to our archives page. We've got 473 free shows. Many of them are over hour and a half, 2 hours long, and we go deep into all kinds of really cool issues and cool alternative health products and alternative health protocols that you can follow and alternative health cleansing and detox. We talk about everything on this show, so it's really fun. So there's 473 other episodes you can listen to, or 472, I should say. Today we've got a great show with Mr. Bryant Meyers. He was back on in May of 2015, episode 378. He's got a couple cool websites, PEMF Book, PEMFbook.com, as well as Bryant Meyers, Meyers, BryantMyers.com. And I just want to let you guys know, too, if you want to stay up to date with all of our shows, we've got so many of them, the best way to do that is by texting the word Get Healthy to 33444. Many of you are probably listening right now on cell phones or things like that, so the best and easiest way is to text the word Get Healthy to 33444, sign up to our newsletter list, and you're off and running. So in episode 378 with Mr. Bryant Meyers, we talked about PEMF, and we're going to be talking about that again today. And I was doing a lot of research a few years back and almost purchased a machine, but had to pull back our purchase of it. We had to pay for a couple other things, and some things came up, so we couldn't do it. So, but this technology, PEMF, is something we're going to be talking about today again, and we're going to dive deeper into the subject. Bryant Meyers is a best-selling author, leading expert in the field of energy medicine and PEMF therapy. He's a former TV host and former physics math professor at Central Michigan. And over 18 years, he's been researching, tested, tried, investigated $500,000 worth of energy medicine devices. and studying with many of the world's health experts on this idea of PEMF and all of that. So we're really, really excited to have him on the show today. Thank you so much, Bryant, for being on.
Well, thank you and for inviting me. This is we had a lot of fun last time, so I look forward to today's episode as well.
Yeah, we were kind of surmising before the show and talking, and I got reconnected with you again because I thought someone had stolen your picture about the 3-day cleanse, and I was on the 3daycleanse.com and said, hey, this company's stealing your photo. But they weren't.
No, 3-day cleanse, that's one of my first products I was sharing with people, over 10 years ago. You know, my initials are BM, Bryant Meyers, so I guess it was destiny, right?
Right. That's funny.
But I've seen that. I saw that help a lot of people with cleaning, getting the mucoid plaque out. And again, had a lot of pictures and believe it or not, a lot of testimonials that were really pretty much proved they weren't the most pleasing or pleasant pictures to look at, but you could really see the mucoid plaque was coming out.
Yeah, no, that's. Do you still get people sending you crazy photos of their poop?
Yeah, every now and then. I mean, I'm still selling over 100 a month on average of those cleanses, so it works. Over 10 years and it's still going strong.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, I got I've been into this field for so long, and I got reintroduced to that website. I'd seen it years ago, but through our friend David Wolf, and he was talking about it, and so I thought, I should go on there and check it out. And yeah, so you still sell that, and people are doing it, and it really is only 3 days?
Yeah, it's just 3 days. You just drink. I mean, you're pretty much drinking only the shakes with a little bit. You're allowed like a little bit of fruit or like some light salads, and they even say you can have a little bit of oatmeal or just really light, low-fat foods, but more or less, if you can, just drink the 3 shakes a day, and the wheatgrass drink and the BioCell drink. That's what's recommended if you can. Some people aren't really good at fasting, so we say, yeah, you can have an apple or a little salad or just a little extra if necessary. But
yeah, something small.
But yeah, that oil palm tree, the oil palm trunk fiber, and you can see when you make the shake, it's really mucilaginous. It's really slippery. Wow. And what it does is it lubricates the colon wall, makes it slippery, so that mucoid plaque can just slip right out. Wow.
Yeah. Is it similar to like, those foods that sort of gel up like chia seeds or flax? Is it
Yeah, that's definitely, it's just a little more even like a little more slick and a little more penetrating. But yeah, those foods are also, aloe vera and, okra and, like you said, chia seeds. They have those mucopolysaccharides that create like a gel.
Wow.
And it is very, the soluble fiber kind of does that typically, oat bran.
Yeah.
So your soluble fibers kind of create that like gel-like, and that's a really, there's insoluble fiber, which is important as well, but the soluble fibers can really help to lower cholesterol and have some really powerful benefits even beyond just regularity.
I might have to do that because I like the idea of a 3-day cleanse because, obviously many of the cleanses are 21 days at least, or sometimes they're a few months. There's a lot of the heavy metal cleanses or parasite cleanses that last for many, many months. And I know they're sort of working on different things, but most of the colon cleanses I've seen are a minimum of 21 days. So the idea of a 3-day cleanse sounds really cool.
It's really nice, and you're right. A lot of the bentonite psyllium based type of cleanses are like a 30-day program. And what I've found through my experience is a lot of people will start those cleanses, and they might for a day will come by where they get caught up and busy, and they skip it, and then they're like, oh shoot, I just messed up the cleanse, and then the bottle goes in the cupboard, and it's like 1/3 or whatever used, and it just stays there. They don't actually finish it because it's hard to really every day follow a 30-day program without life happening at some point.
Oh, yeah. So
for 3 days, people can really be dialed in and focused for just 3 days.
Yeah. I've
just take a weekend retreat, where they can really put aside 3 days where people can't put aside a whole month typically to like do a colon cleanse.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that myself. I've done that on numerous occasions where I've made it halfway through and then I forget a couple days and then, oh gosh, I got to go back and I wonder, right. Is it still good?
Because then you miss it. It's like, oh shoot. Then it's like, I'll do it next month again. I'll buy it again and do it next year. And then it's like 10 years later, you still haven't.
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, no, that's cool. I'm gonna have
that's
to try
what people do though. They just take like a weekend retreat, like a 3-day weekend. A lot of people have weekends off anyway. And you can do it while you work. I mean, you can take one of those days and still bring the shakes in and do it while you work.
Yeah.
So it's just, it makes it convenient where you can just be focused, and that way people don't just go. I mean, it's rare that we have people just do one day, then they don't finish it. You know. People buy it, and it's a little pricey, but you know, people are motivated just to do the 3 days. They kind of gear up for it and plan for it.
Yeah, and like you said, most people can fast for 3 days. That's not too difficult.
No, and it's not just fat. I mean, you're getting 3 thick shakes, I mean, that have a lot of fiber, so it does fill you up. It's just the people that are the typical big eaters that are used to eating the standard American diet, you know, and eating, you know, what's the average American eating over 3,000 calories a day, like 35. I mean, it's a lot of calories, a lot more than we need.
Is that right? 3,000 is kind of the average?
Well, I mean, for the average male, the average female is probably less than that, but...
Wow, gosh, that's nuts.
But there's some big eaters in this country. I mean, you know, so that kind of habit is when you go into then this 3-day cleanse. That's why we say you can have an apple or a salad or a little extra.
Right.
But for people that eat healthy and are in good shape, don't have a problem going just 3 days drinking the 3 shakes.
That's great. So I wanted to talk with you about PEMF. We talked about that last time, and it was a subject that I had studied a lot going into almost purchasing an IMRS mat, and those are the mats that you talk about. So for people that haven't heard our first show together, let's kind of break it down again, what PEMF stands for and what the mat is all about. PEMF stands for pulsed electromagnetic fields. And, you know, I used to teach physics, so technically that pulsed electromagnetic fields are any frequencies from, you know, radio frequencies up through, you know, microwave into infrared, visible light, ultraviolet, X-ray, gamma ray, you know, the whole electromagnetic spectrum. I think a lot of us have seen that in a science class somewhere. And, you know, because light can pretty much be any frequency. There's no limit. Well, there is a limit to how small the frequency can be. It's called you know, at the quantum level, there's a Planck length, right? That's the ultimate limiting length. Okay.
But in general, there's really no limit to how small a wavelength can be and how large. Now, the PEMF that I work with it's more of a pulsed magnetic field therapy than it is pulsed electromagnetic field therapy, because we're working with really pure pulsating magnetic fields.
Now, with the pulsing, I'm just curious, what is the benefit of pulsing versus not pulsing?
Yeah, so a lot of people are familiar with just static magnets. In fact, a lot of people have tried a magnetic mattress pad where it's a static. It's basically, they're really heavy, right? Because they're loaded with magnets. And of course, if you haven't tried that, I'm sure you've played around with magnets before and have seen the magnetic force at play, you know, with pulling up. You know, when a magnet pulls like say an iron nail up off the ground, it's showing you how strong the magnetic force is compared to gravity. Because, you know, gravity has the whole Earth pulling that iron nail down, right? So you have this little tiny magnet that's overcoming the entire mass of the Earth gravitationally to make it sort of rise up. So the electromagnetic force is actually much, much stronger than the magnetic force. And these static magnets, you know, back in the early 1980s, the Eastern Europeans researched magnetic therapy and the effects of magnets. And what they found was that when you pulsate the magnetic field, where it changes with time, it actually has a much more therapeutic benefits than just a static magnet. And it actually makes sense. If you think about how power is generated at a power plant, the magnets are rotating, or the inner copper is rotating relative to magnet. Either way, it's a rotating in the relative frame. So you don't have a power plant that uses static magnets. You can't create any induction. You know, Faraday's law says you need a changing magnetic field to create an electrical current. And we know both from the ancient acupuncture system, the meridians, from the ancient Hindu system of the nadis and the chakras, and now modern medicine is showing us that the body's electric, you know, and we have electrical currents through our nervous system, through our nervous system, which is the connective tissue we're finding now can conduct photons and energy, and just ions through your blood and your lymph, and biophotons are now being discovered as. So That's why we want a magnetic field that changes with time, because it's going to create electrical flow, electrical current. You don't get that with static magnets. And also static magnets you can acclimate or habituate to very quickly, meaning because there's no variation, it's sort of like working out with weights, right? Where you do the same workout routine every day. Well, what's going to happen? You're going to plateau, right?
Right.
You'll get some gains initially, but if you keep doing the same exact exercises, you're going to plateau at some point and you won't get any more gains. This is why that P90X program was so popular, because their success was they continuously varied their workouts. You were never really doing the same exercise program for any long stretches at a time. Constantly, and that way you can continually to get gains or growth. So pulse magnetic fields also have the benefit of you can use it every day and not habituate or plateau. You can continue to get benefit. You know, I've been using it for every day for like 9 years, and I don't feel any plateauing at all, where I've had a magnetic mattress pad, and initially I felt results, then it kind of went down, then I was starting to feel it was agitating. I couldn't even sleep. So that's because there's some reasons for that we don't necessarily have to get into, but
no, that's interesting because with the magnetic mattress pad, from what I've heard, they're very, very heavy, and I would imagine it would be difficult to take it on and off of your bed. Now, I'm curious with the pulsed magnetic waves. I'm curious, do they pulse in a rhythmic way that your body could get used to, or are they pulsed randomly? Like, how does the actual pulse work?
The unit that I work with I really like because it has a very complex pulse train. And the complexity, the fundamental pulses are within the Earth natural frequencies. Because just to give a little background, our bodies and minds operate roughly from 0 to 30 hertz. And when you're awake, you're typically in a beta brain state, which is 12 to 30 hertz. When you're relaxed, you're in alpha, which is around 7 to 12 hertz. When you drift off to sleep, or if you're in deep meditation, you get into theta, and that's roughly 3 to 8 hertz or so. And then below that is delta, right? So we're operating in the 0 to 30 hertz range. So the fundamental frequencies of the unit I work with do work within those frequencies. However, the pulse train itself is very complex. It has like a triple sawtooth, and there's many pauses and variations between the pulse trains, even though the fundamental frequency that it's rated at is the natural, brain state frequencies.
Okay.
And it switches polarity every 2 minutes, which gives further variation. And we have 4 frequency settings for the 4 times a day to correspond to delta, theta, alpha, and beta. So you get different, so depending what time of day you use it, you're getting different frequencies. And we even have a biofeedback system with this system that I work with that will automatically adjust the intensity based on your heart rate variability, like a biofeedback.
Oh, right. Okay.
And that actually gives you a unique session every time, as far as, because the intensities will vary every 2 minutes. So literally, you don't have the same session twice, or very rarely. I mean, you might by coincidence, but so it is like P90X for electromagnetic field therapy.
Oh, that's interesting.
That you get all that variation. So there's really nothing you can really acclimate to over time. So you don't have to take you don't have to cycle. You don't have to take like a week off here and there, or like you do with supplements. Or
so it's cycling based on your heart rate variability. It's cycling based on the time of day, and then within each of those elements, it's cycling itself.
It's a complex waveform, just like your radio stations, like 101.5, for example. That's the carrier frequency. Well, the music is piggybacked on the carrier frequency, so you have a lot of complexity. It's not just a simple 101.5 megahertz radio wave, right? It has its Fourier analysis breaks down the music into waves, right? That's piggybacking on the 101.5. So we have that fundamental sort of earth frequency, brain state frequencies, but we have, there's a lot of complexity, or you could say sort of music, cellular music programmed in to those frequencies. So
now, just for someone who's sort of listening to this, trying to figure out what the heck this machine does, it's a mat that you lay on, and so explain, so what does it do? So when you lay on this mat, it emits these electromagnetic fields, pulsed frequencies. And what's that doing, and why is that so good for people?
Yeah, I like to use the simple analogy that it's a whole body battery charger. That, when you lay, how they have the new cell phone chargers that you can you don't even have to plug them in. You just put them on like a little station or a little platform.
Yeah, I've seen those. Yeah.
And guess what? They're using pulsed electromagnetic or pulsed magnetic fields.
Oh, really?
To induce the charging of the battery. Oh. So this is sort of like one of those little stations for the whole body. When you lay on it, the PEMFs are literally charging up ATP through, and again, there's proven mechanisms how PEMFs do this, through enhancing ATPase, for example. And the whole process of ATP production is enhanced with pulsed electromagnetic field therapy. And also it charges up the transmembrane potential, which is the cellular voltage that some people have heard of, that our cells have a voltage.
Oh, okay.
Around 70 millivolts, if a healthy, or even up to 90 or even 100 with the heart cells or higher. With athletes, they'll have a little higher charge than the average person. So when you lay on the mat, see, typically people that have, and Dr. Otto Warburg was the first to point this out, that when people start to get sick and chronically ill, their cellular voltage starts to go down. Mm. And the lowest case that Dr. Otto Warburg was finding was like stage 4 cancer. He would find voltages get down to like literally 15 millivolts.
Wow.
And when you get much lower than that, you just pretty much, you're a goner. I mean, your body there's just not enough cellular energy to give the body the energy it needs to function, right?
It's supposed to be a 70, you said?
Yeah, I mean, ideally, that's kind of the average. I mean, I think it could be a little higher than that optimally.
Okay.
The heart cells, in each, the different cells of the body can vary a little bit. The heart's the most energetic organ in your body. And when you measure the body's field, and by the way, you can measure your heart field up to 15 feet into space with squid magnometers, these very sensitive superconducting quantum interference devices, wow, which is a fancy name for a very sensitive magnetic field detector. Can actually, so your heart is more energetic, and it kind of makes sense, right? The heart's constantly beating 24/7. So the heart cells are going to naturally be at a higher voltage than maybe the other cells in your body. But 70, that's sort of, Dr. Otto Warburg was the number that he won a Nobel Prize, so I think he sort of knows what he's talking about. Yeah,
there's a guy out there in Texas that we've been wanting to get on too, Dr. Jerry Tennant, and he says the same thing. I mean, I'm sure you're familiar with his work.
Oh yeah, no, I've definitely read his book, and
Healing is Voltage.
I quoted him in my book. I actually quoted him in a few places. Or referenced him.
He says healing is voltage. That's exactly what you're saying too. It's interesting. So when you're laying on the mat, it actually increases the voltage. It brings it back up, and then when you get off the mat, does that voltage drop back down again, or how does that work?
Well, it's sort of like a good analogy. It's sort of like when you throw a stone in a pond. The stone quickly will hit the bottom of the pond, but the waves keep going, right? They just keep going for a while. So PEMF, when you lay on it, the effects last. I've had people that have laid on the mat once, and 3 days later their pain was still better. But we say in general, it's going to last, 8 to 12 hours a session. And, just like when you charge up batteries and the green light is on, if you want to keep your battery sort of topped off, just like sort of a waiter will come by and top off your water, you can do it like 2 to 3 times a day for 8 minutes. Will keep your energy sort of topped off so you can keep that good cellular charge.
That's interesting. Do you want to not do it before bed? Does it energize you too much before bed?
Well, that's the beauty. No, actually, our number 2 testimonial, our number 2 most common testimonial that we get is better sleep. Number 1 is pain relief. That's the one that people get the most. But because we use the organ or the biorhythm clock in the unit that I work with, the nighttime session is actually 0.5 hertz, which is like a delta frequency. So when you lay on the mat before bedtime, and let's say your mind is racing at 50 hertz, or 50 miles an hour, you could say, a lot of people have a hard time getting to sleep because their brains are just overactive, or their bodies are a little overactive. So laying on the mat before bed, what it does is it slows everything down, because the nighttime frequency is a delta frequency, which is what you need for deep sleep. So through biological entrainment, just like when you hit the tuning fork in the other we can sort of help the body and the mind to slow down to those lower frequencies. And I tell you, people don't buy it for better sleep, but I mean, just this past week, I must have had 3 people tell me how better their sleep has been since using it, even from day one.
Wow.
And that's a common problem in America. Sleep, I think, sleeping pills are one of the top, not the number one, but they're certainly probably in the top 10 of prescription drugs. It is a definite problem, and this is a solution to better sleep.
Yeah, I was doing some research on sleep recently, and I think 40 million people in the United States alone, 40 million people dealing with some sort of chronic sleep issue, and then I think there's over 60 million people that are being prescribed or do take prescription medications for, or regular over-the-counter stuff like Ambien for sleep and things like that. So sleep is a big issue for people.
Oh, yeah. In fact,
huge.
You gave my website, PEMFbook.com. I have a 2-part video series, which is the transcribed article on sleep. And I really get into detail on PEMF helps with better sleep. And I give other tips on sleep, too, because there's a lot of other things you can do besides just PEMF. PEMF definitely helps. And it's just simple entrainment. It's really simple. If we know through electroencephalograms that the brain is electrical and it emits electromagnetic fields.
Mm-hmm.
That's not, Hans Berger was the first to show that back in the early 1900s, so this is nothing new at all. He called it the Berger wave, which became the alpha wave later on.
Oh, wow.
So Hans Berger, it's interesting that quantum mechanics was getting developed about the same time that these understandings of the body electric was starting to be discovered.
Yeah.
And so when because the brain is electrical, it's just simple entrainment. If your brain is electrical and you're laying on a mat that's pulsing at 0.5 or 3 hertz, it's going to slow down to that frequency if you lay on it for even for 8 minutes. So
why 8 minutes? What's that about?
Well, it's just back in the there's a really good it's not in print anymore by Dr. Christian Toohey, but it's a book using the old VitaLife IMRS 2000 because the unit that I recommend has been around since the mid 1990s to late 1990s, and there was 5 years of clinical data where where dozens of doctors in a clinical setting used this particular device, which is now the IMRS. Back then it looked different, but it's still the same frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
And through their clinical data, they just found that 8 minutes was a good number for whatever reason. It just seemed to be what was needed to, create that entrainment, improve cellular voltage. Some of the protocols we do recommend longer. Like for example, I tell people for sleep, you want to try to do 60 minutes before bedtime if you have insomnia.
Okay.
And all that does is it allows a longer period of entrainment because people's circadian rhythms can be so out of whack that they just need a little bit longer to slow everything down.
Interesting. Now, can you sleep on the mat?
No, you don't need to. This is the thing. Because the effects last, like I said, like the waves in the pond, the waves keep going.
Mm-hmm.
You don't. It's not like static magnets. See, the thing about a static magnet, when you take the magnet off, the effects go away. So, if you want to use static magnets, and you can buy localized static magnets. You can buy ankle braces, knee braces, elbow braces. Just about every joint in your body, they have magnetic belts to put around for your low back.
Mm.
But the thing about those is you have to be wearing them all the time. And as soon as you take them off, the benefits go away. And
then the more you wear them, though, the more your body gets used to them. So the less
exactly,
effective.
Right.
Yeah.
So with the PEMF, you don't, the effects just last longer. Now, if somebody does have a localized structural, like say a broken bone or a fracture or a torn ligament or joint, or they sprained or strained something, or, if they got arthritis or you can do extra time with the pillow pad or the probe, which we use a square wave, which was shown by NASA, Dr. Goodwin, to be really good for healing and regeneration. And it also breaks up the cycles of pain and really helps with pain relief. So with the full body mat for charging the cells, 8 minutes twice a day is really all you need. Or you could throw in a third session in the afternoon for an energy pickup.
Okay.
I just had a lady call and tell me that she had a dip in energy every day, and doing the mat in the middle of the day has really helped. She doesn't get that dip anymore.
That's interesting. Yeah, because
so you can throw but that's just 8 minutes 2 or 3 times a day. But now for healing and regeneration, for structural things, you can do like a half an hour, even up to an hour, to kind of get the healing accelerated. Again, just until the point where it's healed. It's like if it's a strained ankle, it might be like I thought I fractured my shin a couple months ago, and it was bad. I couldn't even walk on it at all.
Oh, wow.
And I put the pillow pad. I just watched the documentary, put the pillow pad on, and just did it for like an hour. And in 3 days, I was just walking fine again. I talked to someone who had a similar accident, and they said it took them a week for their shin to. It was a really bad bruise. It wasn't fractured, but it was a really bad bruise, and it just it amazes me sometimes because I use it when I get as needed, where needed. In situations like that, and it really works.
Now, is this similar to like if you were to just spend time laying down on the earth, grounded on the earth? Is this somehow better than that? Do you think?
Well, I do. I talk about in my book the reconnecting to nature. So I'm a big fan of reconnecting to the food that nature gives us, the water that nature gives us, natural full spectrum light in the daytime. Uh-huh. Of course, you don't want full spectrum light at night. You want low blue lights and low dimming at night, and then fresh air, oxygen, and the magnetic fields of the earth and gravity. Gravity is another, you could say, the sixth element, even though I talk about PEMF being the fifth element. So with PEMF, you could say you could say 2 components to that I think are really important. One is grounding or earthing, which is I prefer to just get barefoot on the earth every day for like 45 minutes. I like that better than earthing pads and mats, which I've tried all of them. I mean, I had all the mattresses. I even bought a cocoon, this earthing cocoon that was totally surrounding your body. But I really prefer just getting my bare feet on the ground. And you can say that's vitamin G for grounding,
Yeah,
I'd say vitamin E for earthing, but vitamin E is already a vitamin.
Right.
Or vitamin M, the magnetic fields, I still think it's important to supplement because even if you lay just bare naked on the ground, the Schumann resonance, 7.83 hertz is only 1 picotesla. So pico is 1 times 10 to the minus 12. That's a very small number.
Okay.
So and we know that it's important. I mean, we need this Schumann resonance, or a lot of things happen. And Dr. Rutger Wever was the first to show this.
Yeah, I remember that. He was doing some experiments where he was. I think it might have been him, but he was putting people actually in the earth in like an underground type of thing and shielding them from the Schumann resonance, and that was really adversely.
The underground bunkers. And he shielded them, and he found. All kinds of things would happen. And, Dr. Hunt, Valerie Hunt at UCLA did actually further evidence with even better because she did it in a mu steel chamber.
Oh, okay.
And mu steel it blocks out even better than Dr. Rutger Wever could do. It really blocks out 100% of the magnetic fields. And she was finding, college students, I mean, really, and she used very healthy students. She didn't want to take any chances with people that had any health problems. And they were getting all kinds of things from disorientation, like literally just not knowing what direction is up or down. They started to experience pain for no reason, just depression. They just got really, emotional, like some of these like football players, like just getting emotional.
Right.
And it really drove home the point of how important the magnetic field of the Earth is in the Schumann resonance.
Yeah, so that exists from the crust of the Earth up to the ionosphere. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean the Schumann resonance takes place in that sort of spherical cavity between the surface of the Earth and the ionosphere, and the 7 million lightning strikes, or give or take, every day that happen. Believe me, there's a lot more lightning strikes than people realize around the Earth every day. Mm-hmm. I live in Florida, which is the lightning capital of the world. But I tell people, we've all heard in chaos theory, right? Like a flap of a butterfly's wings in Brazil can cause a tornado in Texas or something like that, right?
Butterfly effect.
The butterfly effect, right?
Yeah.
Well, I tell people the PEMF effect is a lightning strike in Brazil can enhance and actually cause a wonderful feeling in your body instantaneously. I mean, because that Schumann resonance, the lightning strikes ring that spherical cavity like a bell.
Oh, right.
And pumps energy. And electromagnetically, again, this is not like a sound or a physical ringing of a bell, but it's an electromagnetic ringing of bell because it's like a spherical capacitor.
Mm-hmm.
And that Schumann resonance is more or less a quasi-standing wave, where it's a scalar wave. So, scalar waves are more fundamental than electromagnetic waves. From electrodynamics, Maxwell's equations, which govern, there are 4 equations that really map out both the magnetic and electric fields and the interaction between the two. Well, guess what? Scalar vector potentials and the scalar vectors, the scalar fields are more fundamental. And actually, those Maxwell's equations come from the scalar potentials, which is
interesting.
We won't get into all the physics of that, but the point is that this Schumann resonance is almost like at a deeper, more fundamental level than simple electromagnetic waves.
Wow! And so when someone like in those experiments you're talking about, people are buried below the earth or somehow shielded, so they're experiencing all kinds of adverse health effects from that. Now, is it true, or is it something that occurs when someone is inside a house? Are they still protected from the Schumann resonance, do you think?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. We spend too much time indoors, and it really depends on the house. I mean, some people that live in these concrete and steel, like condominium or apartment complexes, that's a lot worse than, say, a wooden or like a log cabin or something like that, right? So typically, if you got the more concrete and electrical wires you have, the more it's going to shield.
Okay.
A Faraday cage, right, is simply just a mesh of wire that surrounds you, and that really does block out. Like I used to teach physics, so one of the experiments I'd do is I'd take someone's cell phone, and it would say 5 bars, right? You put it inside the Faraday cage, and it'd go down to like 1 bar or something, So the Faraday cage will block out some of those fields. That's why sometimes you go into like a parking garage or some of those places and your cell phone reception goes way down. I know my satellite radio, as soon as I go in a parking garage, it just shuts off. I mean, I can't listen to satellite radio. So yes, a lot of modern structures really do block and shield the natural frequencies of the earth. And not to mention that we got all kinds of electrosmog inside our house from unhealthy. I tell people there's the good PEMFs of the earth, and there's the bad, just to clarify so we don't confuse the two, there's the negative EMFs of, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, the 60 hertz, the power line grid.
Right.
Just all kinds of, smart meters, compact fluorescent light bulbs. I mean, all of the electrical appliances in your house, on and on we could go.
Isn't it crazy, Bryant, how America chose to go with 60 hertz, even though it's my understanding that in Europe they were proven to be the least healthy and the most damaging, and so European went with different currencies.
With 50 hertz, it is.
We go with 60.
I don't get it either. I don't know if it's just a rumor about Tesla. Tesla was really against 60 hertz.
Yeah.
And, and I think he knew, he definitely knew about the Schumann resonance and the earth pulse because he was creating these energy generators that were tapping into the earth energy.
Wow.
The ionosphere, and he was coming up with like wireless, how we use wires to transmit energy. He was coming up with wireless ways to do that.
Yeah. Wireless electricity too, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Wireless electricity without the wires. And the other thing about the 60 hertz signal is it's not just the 60 hertz that's harmful. It's that the 60 hertz is because it's a lower frequency. You got a lot of other toxic microwave frequencies that piggyback on that signal. So it's almost like a magnet where it will just pick up all these other stray higher frequencies, which we know are bad. I mean, the microwave, there's all kinds of evidence now. And in my book in chapter 7, I list a lot of the World Health Organization, the government, they did a military study, just on and on and on. There's research to show that these higher frequencies that are, because 4G networks are literally a microwave, 2.4 gigahertz. It's almost the same frequency as your microwave oven.
Wow. And
it's a little off, but it's in the same ballpark as far as the frequency.
And they're rolling that stuff out like candy, aren't they?
Oh, that's why I tell people, go to antennasearch.com and you'd hope that you're not living within 300 meters of a cell phone tower, because research from Brazil and Europe has shown that you can increase your risk of cancer if you live really close to a cell phone tower. But it's worth looking at antennasearch.com to make sure that you're not. And I had a lady that she had all these problems, just sort of chronic fatigue. They just gave her a catch-all diagnosis for her condition. And it turned out as soon as she moved, she was living right next to a cell phone tower. As soon as she moved, all her symptoms went away.
Really?
So, but she was really sensitive. Not everybody's sensitive like that. But there's now electrosensitivity is now listed as a legitimate condition. Some people are electrosensitive.
Right.
And but they're the canaries in the coal mine. So we should listen. We should, they can kind of give us a hint that, hey, this isn't good for any of us, even if we don't necessarily feel it as painfully as they do.
So 300 meters is what the evidence is showing, that you don't want to be closer to that? Yeah,
basically 300 meters, beyond 300 meters, there was no statistical significant increase or decrease in cancer. They use, 95% confidence interval, statistics, whatever.
Wow.
But within 300 meters, there was a statistically increased risk of cancer. And this is I quote the study in my book. So antennasearch.com, you can check that out. I also tell people to, turn off their Wi-Fi when they're not using it in their house.
Mm-hmm. We do that all the time.
Yeah, if you can use Ethernet only, because I know people that have gone to that have multiple computers, and they just run Ethernet cables, just as you can run wires up and down the edges of your walls, and paint it so it blends in. But if you do use Wi-Fi, just turn it off when you're not using it, because every Wi-Fi, usually, like with my Vios gateway, I can turn it on and off right from my computer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do the same thing.
I try to keep it off most of the time.
Yeah, we keep ours off most of the time, and I just did a search on there for our address here, and it's 52 tower structures detected. No new tower applications found. So they actually check for applications for new towers, and then there's 201 antenna locations found.
Yeah, and you can look and just see roughly where the closest antenna is, and on Google Maps you can more or less see how close it is. But when you start to get within 100 meters, that's when it really starts to get to be a hot spot. Okay. That's like a football field distance. A football field is, it's pretty big, but it's not really that far in the scheme of things. So
no. When
we say 300 meters, that's 3 football fields. That's, I don't know, relating that to a quarter of a mile or what it would be, but it's pretty close. Most people, in general, you probably don't have to worry. However, they're starting to put cell phone towers on top of apartment complexes, and one of the people that read my book and who actually distributes the IMRS as well lobbied against the cell phone tower that was going to go on top of a school.
Oh my gosh.
And he kind of used some of the stuff from my book to quote some of the research, and he got a bunch of parents to I think I forget which company, if it was Verizon or who, but they actually prevented the cell phone tower from going on top of the school.
Oh my gosh!
Thank goodness.
Oh yeah,
although a lot of schools now have Wi-Fi blasting, unfortunately, through the whole school at a high level, right? Because they have to put a lot of hotspots to make sure that all the classrooms get it. So
and they got the old fluorescent lighting, and they got the whole 9 yards.
Oh, the compact fluorescent light's even worse.
Yeah,
but yeah. So yeah, I would love to see schools get more green. When we say green, not only getting full spectrum lights, but getting less Wi-Fi, more Ethernet, and green in the sense of getting back to nature, which means electromagnetically and magnetically, this is where PEMFs come in. So we want to supplement because we're bombarded by so much electrosmog. And Magna Havas, who's one of the experts on electrosmog, who I got a lot of my information from my book, and I give her a lot of credit, she's got some great, videos on YouTube. And she did a little experiment where she worked in front of the computer, and she's a live blood microscopist. She could see this on her blood.
Oh, wow.
And she was really shocked to see that her blood, all the blood cells would start sticking together after working on the computer.
Oh, my goodness.
And she laid on the MRS 2000, which is what it was called before, the IMRS. And after 8 minutes, she looked at her blood again, and all the blood cells separated.
Wow, and she has a video about that?
I've got screenshots. I mean, I have on my...
wow.
She didn't create a video with it, but I can share it's in the membership area of the IMRS2000.com website.
Oh, wow.
But she's got an article that on her website where you can see the before and after. And she's got, again, just to be clear, she has no commercial interest in any of these devices, which actually makes it even more powerful because she had no. In fact, she kind of went into PEMF, my understanding, when I heard her talk about it. She initially didn't think it was going to be good because she was really against electrosmog and anything that was artificial sort of energy, right? But when she saw the results with her own blood, she was like, wow. And now she talks about the good PEMF and the negative EMF. So there is, just like there's, like we talked about, full spectrum light versus fluorescent light, good food versus bad food. You can have good clean spring water versus, tap water. So it's an element of health that we need, just like food, water, oxygen. And just as there's unhealthy air, downtown city air, and a lot of people's indoor air, by the way, is pretty bad. The full spectrum light. I mean, all these elements of health. We need food, water, full spectrum light, oxygen. Gravity's been shown to be an essential element. The natural PEMFs of the Earth I show in my book to really be essential. But there's good and bad in each of those elements, right? So that's an important takeaway, that you can supplement, just like you can supplement your diet with nutritional supplements and superfoods. You can supplement energetically your body with natural earth PEMFs. And why would you want to do that instead of just, like you said, just laying on the grass? Well, first of all, the pendulum swung so far the wrong direction that we need an extra boost. So the magnetic flux coming out of the mat, like the Schumann type of waves coming out of the mat, are much stronger and more concentrated than the 1 picotesla Schumann on the Earth. So you're getting, a very strong but safe sort of dose or to kind of stimulate your cells and your cellular voltage. And I also talk about in my book how the magnetic field has been declining over the past 300 to 500 years.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. There's been a lot of people saying that.
Well, and it's not just saying it. I mean, they've proved it. I mean, there was some articles, and I forget what one of those science magazines, and they can very sophisticated. Not only does first of all, the Royal Navy of England, they had records going back to where they had records of the magnetic field intensities. But they got sophisticated tests now where they can take older clay pots from ancient civilizations, and they can, because there's magnetite in those clay pots, there's a way, I forget the exact how they do this, but they can actually measure, and it has something to do with how the magnetite would be all forming within the clay versus how the magnetic field of the Earth would then move that, because magnetite is magnetically influenced because it's got, so they can actually determine very accurately what the magnetic field intensities of the Earth were going back to some of these ancient civilizations.
That's interesting.
So we know for sure over the past 300 to 500 years the magnetic field's declined by up to 50%, or at least 30%, and it most likely because of a pole reversal possibility. There's still a lot of debate. We don't know for sure why it's happening, but it's pretty unanimous that it's not that our magnetic field's going to decline towards extinction.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been some really sophisticated tests to show that the inner momentum of our core is way too strong for the magnetic field to extinguish. Mars, there's evidence Mars once had life, and there's now good evidence that one of the main reasons Mars no longer has life is because the magnetic field was blown away. Mm-hmm. Because the magnetic field, was basically the inner core of Mars could not sustain a magnetic field. So there's really not only there's no atmosphere on Mars, but the reason there's no atmosphere on Mars is because the magnetic field is what was shielding the solar winds, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, on the Earth, it's our magnetosphere, which is like a big toroidal field that creates a very powerful shield against the powerful solar winds. And it bends all those strong electrically charged particles into safe orbits
mm-hmm.
to the poles. That's why we see the aurora borealis,
mm-hmm.
because they get all sort of funneled towards the poles. Without our magnetic field, just like Mars, our atmosphere would just blow away from the solar winds. I mean, once the atmosphere is blown away, then life it's pretty much gone.
Yeah.
So it's really, you could say, I mean, the magnetic field of the Earth is very much, necessary for life. When they look for life on other planets, there's got to be some kind of magnetic field that sort of shields that planet and nurtures the planet too. It's not just a protective. The field itself is energizing and nurturing for life, but it's also protecting from whatever the nearest star would be, if there
mm-hmm.
are, which it seems like there's a foregone conclusion that there's life in other parts of the universe.
Right.
They just discovered now there's 2 trillion galaxies. It was once thought there was only 100 billion galaxies in the universe. Now Hubble Deep Space has shown that there's 2 trillion galaxies in the universe. Each galaxy has 100 billion stars on average. And that's something like now 200 sextillion stars in the universe.
Wow.
That's 2 times 10 to the 23. That's a 2 followed by 23 zeros. And they've already, even in our own galaxy, they're finding more and more planets, that are good candidates for life. And this is just our own galaxy. There's 2 trillion other galaxies.
That's nuts, isn't it? It's absolutely
but we
crazy.
think that one of the necessary elements for life is a strong magnetosphere on the planet.
Uh-huh.
Because, obviously for life to exist, it has to be close to a hospitable star at just the right Goldilocks distance.
Right.
But at that distance, it still has to have a protective shield from the solar winds of that star.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, exactly. So with the PEMF mat, you talked about electro smog, and does the PEMF mat, it helps to ground you too, right? And so it helps to disperse some of that electromagnetic smog.
Yeah, and that's what Magna Havas showed with her before and after live blood, is that when she was on the computer, the blood cells would stick together, mm-hmm. which shows that electrosmog, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, all the dirty electricity, you can call it dirty electricity, electrosmog, just EMFs,
mm-hmm.
Cause the blood cells to stick together, which is not a good thing. When you lay on the Earth-based PMF, and this also goes for just laying on the Earth and spending some time getting grounded, but just laying 8 minutes on the mat, all the blood cells dispersed, and it's a very powerful that happened in just 8 minutes. It's called the Rouleau or the Relay effect. I'm not French, so I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right.
Mm-hmm.
But it's basically when the red blood cells will stack like dimes, they stack like coins. And they get sticky and they all stick together. And the reason that's a problem, first of all, it decreases the surface area to where the hemoglobin can't bind to oxygen as readily.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, when you get down to how red blood cells go into the capillaries, we now know that red blood cells pretty much go through in a single file line through capillaries to diffuse oxygen to the cells.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're all sticking together, they just can't cram. They can't really get into the capillaries effectively because they're all one big mass.
Yeah, they're all clumped together.
So when you lay on the mat and do other healthy things in your life to also create the healthy separation, And the mechanism is straightforward. You know, cellular voltage, if your cells have a strong charge, like charges repel, right? So the cells won't stick together because they're all repelling each other. It's like just when you try to stick two north poles together on two magnets, right? They just want to repel.
Right.
So when the cellular charge is strong, boom, all the cells disperse because of that electrostatic force. It's a very powerful force, like charges. But if your cellular voltage is down, then it's easier for the cells to stick together.
The cellular voltage, does it just slowly decrease as we age? Is that generally what happens? Yeah,
generally as we age, it goes down. As we get sicker, it goes down. And, you know, even during rhythms during the day, you can, you know, just get worn out where you need to sleep, you know. And, you know, they say sleep recharges your batteries. I mean, literally it does. I mean, PEMF enhances that by directly charging your batteries and by helping to improve your better sleep. So even during the course of a day, your cellular voltage may go down over, you know, especially if you have a stressful day.
Yeah.
And PEMF will keep you sort of topped off, you know, just like a waiter coming around topping off your water. You know, if that waiter wasn't there, you'd keep drinking it and the water your glass would eventually be empty. But so that's why it is nice to do a couple sessions during the day. It'll first keep your cells charged. And, you know, we didn't even talk about there's just a long list of benefits of pulse magnetic therapy. Improves circulation.
Let's talk about some of those. I'd love to know.
Yeah. So it improves, so we know it increased cellular voltage. We've been talking about that. Also improves circulation and microcirculation. And there's some really good Doppler studies just to show the capillaries just opening right up.
Really?
And the mechanism for that is it's been shown that PEMFs increase the good nitric oxide because there are a couple forms of nitric oxide, some good, some not so good. The not so good nitric oxide will compete with oxygen, you know, for Krebs cycle. But in general, the good nitric oxide we know improves circulation, helps to reduce pain, reduces swelling, and again, it's even FDA approved for some of these things. You know, it's FDA approved for bone growth, for supporting muscle function, enhancing wound healing.
That'd be great for after surgery, wouldn't it?
Yeah, reducing pain and swelling, treating arthritis, treating severe depression. Those 6 things it's definitely FDA approved for.
Wow.
I mean, these are different high-end devices that are FDA approved for these. Like in the case of depression, you know, the transcranial magnetic stimulation is a specific form of PEMF that gives really targeted pulse magnetic fields to different specific spots of the brain. But we found that just the full body mat helps with depression and helps to increase endorphins. It just helps you feel better. A guy, Jack, who was diagnosed with cancer, was referred by Stan, who just gave me this glowing testimonial yesterday about how it's improved his brain functioning. You know, he uses luminosity and his score went up by 20 points.
Oh, wow.
But his friend Jack, he said, was walking around literally with his head down in his poor posture. And he noticed once he started feeling better with PEMF almost right away, he was he was standing taller. His eyes were looking up, which is just a sign that you're overall happier, right? So, you know, all these benefits and helps the muscles to relax, improves nutrient absorption, helps improve detoxification through eliminating waste, you know, improves metabolism, cellular energy, reduces inflammation, like I said, speeds fractures and healing, helps you, so that it basically gives you energy so you can work harder and longer and recover faster, you know, which applies to athletes too, which is why we have a lot of professional athletes that use it.
You know, it sounds to me like what's going on in our culture is we're becoming increasingly more disconnected from the earth, and so many health conditions arise as a result of that. And then it seems like what's going on from all the people that we talk to is that there's this constant load. I like to call it just like a load on the immune system, and that load can come from toxic air, it could come from EMF, bad food, bad emotions. And so all of these things are putting a load on the immune system. At some point, your immune system just can't it's like a teeter-totter. It just can't handle that much of a load on it, and it can't get on top of it. So devices like this sound like you're bringing back you're decreasing the load on the immune system, and working in harmony with nature, and you're allowing your body to sort of, it's like when I go into an isolation tank, I go in there and it feels like the one time all week or all day that my body can just rest and heal. And it sounds like this is very similar to that. It's a time where your body can actually just not have to deal with the load that we put on it every single day.
Yeah, it helps, and like you kind of touched on, all the elements of health I talk about, earth, water, natural full spectrum light and oxygen, PEMF, gravity, they all have, like you said, the toxic aspects. With earth, it's all the chemicals, the pesticides in our food. With water, we know all the problems with heavy metals, fluoride, chlorine, on and on we could go with the water. The unhealthy fluorescent lights. You're correct. I mean, we just get bombarded with all these unnatural, artificial sort of elements that our bodies were never meant to take in. We didn't evolve with any of them. Mm-hmm. These are all really new. And
these are what's considered to be normal. Like, this is just normal society.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
it's just, and gosh, I could do a whole show just on that topic, going through the stuff that's in our food, our water, et cetera. So PEMF helps, and I do tell people, if you want PEMF to work, if you really want to get some magic and synergy, really start improving your diet, getting a whole food organic diet, really go out of your way to get the cleanest, pristine spring water, or get a really, really good water purifier that you can then energize and make sure that the water is energized and has some minerals in it. Mm-hmm. Really go out of your way to get rid of all the complex fluorescent lights in your house. Get full spectrum light bulbs. Spend time, a half hour to an hour minimum each day in the sun, in the light, and then full spectrum light in nature. Oxygen, good air purifiers. Get outside in nature. If you're going to exercise or go for a jog, don't jog like down a main street. I see some of these people, go out into nature and reconnect. So when you use PEMF, it ties everything together. It makes all these other elements work better. Why? Because it improves nutrient absorption. So all the good food you're eating, PEMF is going to help to deliver it to the cells. Like we talked about improved circulation. Mm-hmm. It has improved assimilation too. So at every level, when you eat the food into your stomach, then into your system, into the capillaries, into the lymph, into your cells, into your mitochondria to produce energy, PEMF will help to get nutrients down to the cellular level more efficiently. Mm-hmm. It'll help to hydrate your body better, because PEMF, again, is opening everything up, so that helps water. It literally will kind of structure the water and make it lower surface tension.
I wonder if does it structure the liquid, the blood and the lymph fluid in your body, I wonder?
Yeah, well, there's even the Navy was using magnets to help prevent scaling on their pipes. I mean, because it lowers the surface tension.
Oh, okay.
So, and the water, as Dr. Pollack, who in his great book on water, the fourth phase of, he talks about the fourth phase of water, that the water in our body is more of a liquid crystal at the cell level. Okay. Which is more of a gel than it is just a pure liquid. And that's a whole other topic of discussion. But the water has this liquid crystal phase where it's a highly coherent, highly sort of, it's a very kind of a quantum phenomena where it can help to create, coherence and all the biophoton activity between cell-to-cell communication. Long gone is the understanding that the cells are like these bags of fluid with enzymes and hormones and sort of proteins floating around. Right. I mean, and the organelles kind of floating in space. Yeah. It's now known to be all it's like it's more of a gel, and everything's interconnected to the cytoskeleton matrix. And but PEMF is working, just to get back to make all these elements of food, water, and oxygen. It helps oxygen to bind to hemoglobin more effectively. Like we said, helps the circulation of the hemoglobin to the capillaries. From the capillaries, oxygen diffuses into the cells. And then in the cells, it's got to get to the mitochondria as the final receptor of the electron transport chain. Mm-hmm. So PEMF actually enhances every step of nutrients, water, oxygen. And what that does in the end is it improves energy production. So not only does PEMF improve cellular voltage directly by increasing the cellular voltage to the transmembrane potential, but it actually helps facilitate ATP production by getting all the essential ingredients that the mitochondria needs to produce energy to get down there more efficiently. Because one of the problems with people that have chronic illnesses is they're in an anaerobic state where they're using anaerobic respiration to create energy. And you only create 4 ATP molecules versus 38 with aerobic, right? And I think as Dr. Tennant would say, it's like getting 4 miles per gallon versus 38 miles per gallon.
Right.
You're just not getting, you're literally getting somebody that's using aerobic respiration versus anaerobic, they're getting 9 times more energy.
Wow.
Can you imagine having 9 times more energy than someone, or having someone having 9 times less energy than you?
That's amazing.
So that's people that are in chronic conditions. Literally, you could say they have roughly 9 times less energy than the average person. If they're, so this is one of the reasons PEMF is so helpful, is because it will open up all those blockages so that the oxygen and nutrients can get down into the cell, into the mitochondria, so that aerobic respiration can happen. And you get that shift into a more aerobic respiration. It just has very, very profound effects. And of course you can combine it with oxygen therapy and other things. But
that's what's so cool. It's so versatile, because you're talking about 8 minutes a day, twice a day. I mean, that's nothing.
8 minutes. So you can see, and not only does it get the nutrients in, and electrophoresis is a phenomena where PMFs will sort of make the cells more porous, so that nutrients and oxygen and water can get into the cells more effectively, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah, because we're doing a lot of shows lately about delivering oxygen into the center of the cell.
Into the cells, right.
Yeah.
So PMF through magnetophoresis or electrophoresis, well, this is known that it makes the cells more porous. Not in an unhealthy way, because you can make the cells too porous.
Okay, right.
But it's just very gently opening up the cells to get nutrients and oxygen. And also, on the other side of it, it gets toxic metabolic wastes, heavy metals, and other toxic stuff out of the cells.
How does it do that?
Well, it's again making the cells more porous. So it's sort of like opening up all the doors and windows in your house. If you let's say you had a lot of toxic fumes from
painting or
cleaners
something,
and chemicals, and what's the best way to get that cleared out? It's opening up all your doors and windows.
Okay.
If you got like new furniture or new carpet, new paint, a fresh coating of paint, you want to open up all your doors and windows. And what that does is it helps to clear. It's like it's getting the oxygen and all the good air in, and then that pushes all the toxic stale air, all the toxic chemicals air out, right? So PEMF is literally like opening up all the doors and windows of your cells to get the good stuff in and the garbage out.
That's interesting. Now, we did a show a while back with Dr. Jack Cruz, and he does a lot of work with light, and you're probably familiar with this.
Yes.
Yeah, he's a great guy. And he was talking all about, people running around talking about genes and genetic, and people getting diagnosed with the BRCA1 gene and getting their breast removed and all this stuff, where talking about genetics. And he was saying what we need to do is look one step further beyond the genetics. It's not the genes, it's the mitochondria that controls the genetic expressions and the sort of phenotype that we express as a result of the genes. And he went on to this whole thing about the mitochondria. And so I thought it was interesting that you brought up a handful of times how the PEMF affects the mitochondria.
Yeah, the mitochondria, it's the power plant of the cell. It literally, through a symbiotic relationship in evolution, there's good evidence. Lynn Margulis, it was the one that originally proposed this, that the mitochondria were like individual cells before eukaryotes were able to bring mitochondria in. They were creating energy through that very inefficient, anaerobic sort of way, lactic acid sort of cycle, right?
Uh-huh.
So it was a great sort of event in evolution when the mitochondria, through a symbiotic relationship, became part of eukaryotic cells. Mm-hmm. But they seem to have a different evolution. Mitochondria have circular DNA. They're literally an independent cell within a cell. There's roughly 200 to 300 mitochondria per cell. That's about 400 quadrillion mitochondria in your body or more in your body. 90% of our energy comes from the mitochondria via ATP.
Do you mean now energy, like when someone feels low energy, is that a mitochondrial issue? Or energy for the cells to work?
Definitely. ATP is the universal rechargeable battery pack of the body. And that high energy phosphate bond, the body uses energy, and pretty much everything in the body that happens is energy. When you lift your arm, when you think, when you digest food, I mean, your immune system, every little thing that happens requires energy, right? Mm-hmm. So you could say, in a sense, health is an energy game. The more of it you have, the healthier you are, assuming that energy is balanced. I mean, yes, you can have unbalanced energy. But just to kind of simplify things, it's sort of like a light bulb that's bright versus one that's dim. Mm-hmm. As we get unhealthy, our aura, our energetic fields dim. We become, and there's other factors too. We get asymmetries and holes in the aura, in the energy field, etc. But the mitochondria, what it's doing is it's sort of eating glucose and fatty acids, and it turns them into electrical energy. And that electrical energy, then, it's like the power plant of the cell, and the cells, of course, make up the body. So the cells come together to power the tissues, and the tissues come together to power the organs, and the organs come together to power your entire body. Mm-hmm. But it all starts at the cell level, and it all starts at the mitochondria, which is a cell within a cell. And, because the mitochondria has like a rich pool of electrons inside their membranes. And, it's pumping hydrogen ions out, and electrons are getting pumped in. And it's through this hydrogen pumping and electron pumping that this energy, it's a very, very sophisticated, Jack is someone that could explain it a lot better than me he really understands the chemistry of the mitochondria. But it's definitely one of the most important aspects when it comes to health and producing energy. And the other very important thing, of course, is detoxifying, because all these heavy metals and viruses, bacteria, all this other stuff kind of short circuits mm-hmm. the flow of energy at all levels. So we do have to kind of clean out. And I give people the analogy: PEMF will recharge your battery, but if you have a corroded battery, you could put a corroded battery inside a charger, and it's not going to still charge effectively, mm-hmm. or it might not charge at all, right? Right. So to get rid of the corrosion, we have to, get those omega-3s and the good fats, because, the good fat is what is insulating the cell, and it's what's creating charge separation, and is what makes the cellular battery a battery. So, we certainly need good water. We know that water can produce energy in and of itself. Dr. Pollack was the one that really showed that in his book, Water, the Fourth Phase. Mm-hmm. But we do need to sort of clean up our diet, clean up our water, clean up our environment, do the best we can to get rid of the non-native EMFs, mm-hmm. which is not just the electrosmog, it's also non-native, like blue light at nighttime. Jack talks a lot about that as well, and I totally agree with him. Yeah, he's huge. And I was curious, just one thing about the PEMF, Matt. Is there an issue with people if they have like a metal plate in their hip or their knee, or they have a pacemaker in their heart or something like that? Or is that an issue for people, do you think? Well, yeah. There's an issue with electronic implants because they're electronic. Okay. Now, because of the day and age we live in, most there's monopolar and bipolar pacemakers, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, there's a couple. The old-fashioned pacemakers were not very electromagnetically compatible. Mm-hmm. So definitely a contraindication if you have an older pacemaker. More of the newer pacemakers, just because we live in an electromagnetic age now, it's just hard to get away from electrical devices. So these pacemakers have to be electromagnetically compatible. So what I tell people is just check with your doctor, because pacemakers is still a contraindication, because we just want to play it safe, But if your doctor gives you approval and he says the pacemaker is electromagnetically compatible, then you can use it. As far as metal implants, it's totally fine. Okay. Because metal has free electrons, the electrons will jiggle a little bit. But unless you're using a really high, super high intensity, like an MRI or a super high, we're using like 100,000 times lower intensity than an MRI. So it's not anywhere near, So be an issue we got all kinds of people with implants that use it, no problem. But electrical devices, and they have some like electrical implants in the brain for Parkinson's and other type of electrical implants as well. Right. We just tell people to check with their doctor.
Yeah, it seems like it would be challenging to explain this to a doctor with the PEMF technology. I don't know if
I would say to the doctor, it's like, what is my pacemaker or my electrical implant rated at as far as magnetic field intensities and frequencies?
Okay.
Because there should be some specs that will say it can handle up to this microtesla of magnetic field and this frequency range is okay. There should be specs. A lot of doctors probably aren't going to take the effort. They'll just say, don't do it, just because it's kind of a knee-jerk response to anything alternative. But if you got a good alternative doctor, like, my medical doctor that I don't go to that often, but he has a whole room of energy medicine devices, PEMF, lasers, ionic foot baths.
Really?
He's got Kangen water at the door.
Wow.
So and he's a medical doctor. So if he does prescribe a drug, he'll muscle test you for if you'll react to it or not.
My goodness. Wow. And
so that's the kind of doctor I encourage people to look for.
Yeah, I wonder how you find that.
And he can still prescribe drugs. He ordered an X-ray for my shin, and I only paid $50. If I went to an emergency room, I'd have to. But if you can find, that is a great blessing if you can find a holistic MD, not just an N. Do find a medical doctor, in case because that way you can do a full battery of blood tests, get a checkup, and all that.
Right.
But just when he does come to because a lot of our modern medical equipment is very good at diagnosing things. Mm-hmm. The problem is in the treatment.
Yeah.
They want to cut, burn, and poison with drugs, chemo, and radiation and surgery type of approaches.
Now, I would imagine that, you know this more than anybody, but, obviously all our listeners know this too. Cancer is the big buzzword, and we can't say that this does anything to cancer, but I would imagine it would be my thought that if my body had cancerous cells in it, or if I wanted to prevent cancer, it seems to me that this would be a great device to just use.
Yeah, we tell people the PEMF helps the body to heal itself. Mm-hmm. So the body has a near infinite intelligence. It knows how to heal itself. Okay, you have to trust and have faith in the body's ability to heal itself. Now, what your job is to give the body the elements that it needs to heal itself and to get rid of the toxicity. Put the good stuff. I tell people, put the good stuff in and take the garbage out.
It's pretty simple, right?
It's pretty simple. So what PEMF does for cancer is it's not that it heals or cures or treats cancer. It creates an environment that is very antagonistic to cancer, meaning it improves oxygenation. Cancer hates oxygen. Mm-hmm. It improves, as Dr. Otto Warburg showed, it improves cellular voltage. Cancer typically takes place from the cells that are very low voltage. Mm-hmm. It improves alkalinity. And by the way, the alkaline, when people that have cancer are very acidic, that goes hand in hand with low voltage. And Dr. Tennant really showed this as well. Mm-hmm. That pH meters are actually voltmeters. Mm-hmm. When you take one of those electrical pH meters to measure the pH of water, mm-hmm. it's actually measuring, it's an electrical voltage. So there's a direct connection between alkalinity and voltage. Mm-hmm. So when your cells are at a 70 millivolt at a high voltage, they're going to be at a good pH, mm-hmm. the roughly slightly positive pH, 7.35 or whatever the healthy pH is.
And the alkalinity is just transferring the energy and voltage, increasing the voltage. Yeah. That's what all it is.
But cancer hates that alkaline environment. Uh-huh. Cancer loves an acidic environment, a low oxygen environment, and it also thrives on people with poor circulation, because what cancer does is it creates its own little shield, its own little colony, and like a tumor will literally sort of create a skin and sort of separate itself from the rest of your body. But through angiogenesis, mm-hmm. it will suck your body's nutrients and other things that it needs. So what PEMF does is it pierces that veil and opens things up so that your body's immunity, that the oxygen, all the things that cancer hates, can get in there. Mm-hmm. And again, it's the body healing itself. And this guy, Jack Dunbacher, who has cancer, diagnosed with cancer, went to Stan Burris's house, who was a gentleman that was having great results using the mat. Mm-hmm. After one session, this was just 2 weeks ago, so it's fresh in my mind. He just couldn't believe how good he felt after one session. He says, I can't remember feeling this good. Mm-hmm. And 2 sessions later, he calls up and orders a mat from me, and but he didn't go to Stan's house, or Stan had no like motivation to like sell him a mat.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't his intention. He just wanted his friend to try the mat out and see if it would help his cancer or his symptoms.
Right.
And so he's, we'll see. I mean, he's 2 weeks in, but him and his wife are just ecstatic. I mean, I can't hardly describe in emotions how excited he was. And it's very moving, very touching to see testimonials. We've had a lady with breast cancer. I had a guy with esophageal tumor shrink by 80%.
Oh my
but
gosh.
It's not that and this is using the IMRS. Mm-hmm. It's not that PEMF is treating or curing the cancer. It's just creating an environment that promotes healing and is antagonistic to cancer. It's both those two things. It's so the body can sort of reboot its immune system and its energy. Because when the body's got energy, the immune system needs energy too. I mean, and good circulation, right? Because the immune system resides mainly in your lymph. People with cancer typically have really stagnant lymph, have poor circulation. They're in the anaerobic cycle of creating energy, which means they call it the lactic acid cycle because it creates lactic acid, which, guess what, makes the body more acidic. Mm-hmm. Aerobic respiration won't make your body acidic like lactic acid or anaerobic respiration will. So all these things stack against you when you have cancer, and PEMF helps to turn them all upside down.
It seems like we're talking earlier about the load on the immune system, and as people think about the viral load, the toxicity load, all kinds of loads that we're putting on the system, it seems as if, if you were to take each one of those things, yes, each one of those things are very important. Like, someone could be doing everything right, but eating a diet full of cakes and crackers and Coke and stuff.
Right.
So but each of those things are going to carry with it a different weight. Each of those loads, some part of your diet or lifestyle that's adverse to you might not be that big of a load or burden on your immune system. But it seems to me like with the PEMF, it's a huge part of allowing your body to heal. It's a bigger load. It's a bigger reversal of the load than anything else.
Because it works at all the levels of, it works on so many levels. Mm. That's why it's really, really powerful in helping the body to heal itself. Mm-hmm. Because it's not just directly energizing the cells and helping the cells produce energy and ATP. It's actually opening up lymphatic circulation, your circulation, all your detoxification pathways. Mm-hmm. Like I said, at the cell level, it's opening through electrophoresis, and it's allowing the cells. The cell's like a pump in one sense. There's many analogies you can give to the cell, and but one of the analogies, just kind of at a physical level, is it's a pump, and the sodium potassium pump, pumps. It's a selective pump, right? Mm-hmm. It's very selective in what it's supposed to pump in and what it pumps out. So you want to get the good stuff in and the toxic stuff out. So PEMF really helps, even down to the cell level. But even at the capillary level, at the arterioles level, at the arteries and vein, you can just take all the way up from the cell to the heart itself, right? Mm-hmm. And all the lymph nodes down to all the nooks and crannies of the lymphatic system. So by opening up all these channels, because the lymphatic system's like the body's sewage system in a sense. It's also how nutrients get diffused into the cells. Hmm. But a lot of people, like you say, loads. Their lymph is just loaded with just too much. It's stagnant and it's loaded with a lot of toxicity. Mm-hmm. And PEMF will help to get that lymph moving. And of course, it's good to get you some other things like massage and rebounding and skin brushing, and there's a lot of other things that help the lymph to get moving as well. Mm-hmm. But it's not that it's just moving them. That's the thing about PEMF, is doing so many other things too.
Yeah, it sounds like such an amazing device. I got to ask you, as someone who I'm super into, I'm kind of like you in the sense that where you tried so many different machines and things, and can you use the mat with other things like chi machines or brain entrainment stuff?
Oh yeah. In fact, we have a brain entrainment system that's synchronized with our mat. Mm-hmm. But you could use HoloSync. If you wanted to use your own brain entrainment, you could use it at the same time. Actually, I have a chi machine, and I've actually laid on my mat while my feet were on the chi machine.
Yeah,
You could do it at the same time, even. So you definitely, typically you got to be careful about combining like things that are electrical energetic with it.
Mm-hmm.
But the chi machine's like a mechanical moving your legs back and forth, so that you can easily combine or do separately.
But you do the holo sync with it too?
Well, I just use the one. I don't use the whole. I've been recommended a natural healing practitioner who has a lot of success. She recommended a particular holosync program. I've been wanting to get, but I've just been using the light and sound system that the IMRS it's an option. You can get it.
Right. Yeah, it's an upgrade, isn't it?
It's an upgrade. Yeah. So, but it uses the biurnal beats and the flickering LEDs to synchronize both hemispheres of the brain.
Okay. And so you can put that. It's like a headset, right? You can put it over.
Yeah, it's all in one now. We don't have a separate headphones. It's little earbuds now in the goggles.
Oh wow.
But there's red, green, and blue. Of course, I used to tell people to do blue at night, but now because I used to think blue was relaxing.
Mm-hmm.
But now I say, if you're going to do it at night, use the red.
Yeah, the blue is, gosh, I've shared this on my show recently.
You can't use blue lights. You don't want to use, I actually have amber LED. I got like 4 lamps strategically placed around my house now.
The blue light at night is tough.
Turn off all the lights and turn on those LED amber lights at night, at least an hour before bedtime. You don't have to get too fanatical about it.
Yeah, the blue lights at night are really tough.
But during the day you can use the blue or the green. But
yeah, I was just saying the blue lights at night are just, oh man.
Well, it's been shown to interfere with melatonin release. The pineal gland is literally like a third eye in a sense. It has light receptors, and think about it. It makes just common sense. Melatonin is released when the body's getting ready for bed.
Mm-hmm.
So what has evolution sort of given the body as a timer or a way to like sort of time, okay, when should we release melatonin?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's when when there's no light out, so when you're in the middle of the day, the pineal gland thrives actually. And believe it or not, melatonin release is enhanced when you get good full spectrum blue light in the middle of the day or just full spectrum light. But at nighttime, the melatonin is triggered when the blue lights are no longer being sensed at all. Then the pineal gland's like, oh, no more blue light, so it must be nighttime. Let's get this person ready for sleep.
Right. And cancer.
And so it secretes melatonin.
Uh-huh.
Now, here's the thing. Red and orange, you pretty much stops at orange or amber, is pretty much invisible to the pineal gland. So the pineal gland will not sense the red light or the amber light. So that light won't interfere with melatonin. But anything yellow and up, yellow, green, blue, purple, the pineal gland will pick it up, and it will think it's still daytime, like the blue sky. It'll think, oh, it's still daytime. Don't secrete melatonin yet. It's still daytime.
Right. That's interesting.
So, but that is very important. And I tell people that are having trouble with sleep, I'm like, listen, yes, you can use the PEMF and it'll slow your brain down, but there's a few other things you can do that are going to help you sleep better. One of them is to at least start dimming your lights. Incandescent light bulbs, are based on, releasing light through the temperature curve, the Boltzmann curve.
Right.
So when you dim an incandescent light, the current flowing through the filament is very weak, and it just creates that warm reddish glow, right?
Mm-hmm.
So actually dimming your incandescent lights will be good enough also. So if you have a dimmer, but just make sure that it's incandescent with a filament. It doesn't work with LEDs or compact. But that's really, I won't dwell too much more on that, but it is a very, very important thing that I tell people to really look into. And, minimize an hour before bedtime, just turn off your phone on your computer. Just, if you got to use them, get some blue blocker type of goggles, to, if you really have to be looking at those screens.
Yeah, I've been combining. Dr. Cruz says that the Flux program is not enough. So I've been using the Flux along with the glasses at night.
I've got Flux too. I recommend everybody get Flux, and I agree with him. It's not enough because even with Flux down to the dimmest setting, you're still going to get some blue light there. again, so what you can do is, lowbluelights.com has some great products, and they have some, there's cheaper goggles, but I like their goggles better. And because I can see better. Some of the blue blockers are almost too. I just can't see very well.
I know. I'm the same way. Yeah. The low blue light ones. We talked to one of the guys behind that. I think Dr. Richard Hansler, and he was talking all about that.
Oh yeah. I think he's the one that wrote the book. I got it. I've still been wanting to read his book, but
yeah, he's a good guy.
But it's like I kind of get it to the degree that I haven't even. But if I wanted to dig up all the research on it, I would go to the. I don't know if it's his book, but they have a book on their website that gets into all the research to substantiate all this, so that you. And it really does work. I mean, it's amazing how you can just drift off to sleep better when you dim your lights, at least an hour or two before bed. I mean, ideally maybe 3 hours, but if at least that last hour. I mean, if you're just gonna.
And he was saying on the show too that the light, any kind of light inside your house, if it's not full spectrum, if it's normally like these LEDs that people are using and things, even if it touches your skin. It's still that light frequency is hitting your skin, getting in your body, and it's still an issue. So I think he was recommending, like, if you have these poor lights inside your house, at least get the glasses and wear like a long sleeve shirt or sweatpants or something if you're going to go to bed.
Oh wow, yeah, that's something I didn't think about that, but
yeah, interesting.
But you're right. I mean and what's his name, Lieberman's book on light. He talks about how the pineal and the eyes, and it's not just the eyes. I mean, like it is like the skin, the whole body responds to light.
Yeah,
and
makes sense,
Dr.
right?
Gabriel Cousins gave an interesting sort of idea that because hemoglobin's so similar to chlorophyll, that we might be able to photosynthesize similar to plants do, possibly, or there might be some ways to at least increase our energy from. But that's with sunlight affecting your skin, right? So that makes sense that even inside at night, I didn't think about wearing long sleeve like that, but that's a good.
Yeah, because a lot of people just wear the glasses, but they'll have the light, hits your arms and hits your legs and hits your head, and so he was saying that somehow he gave a whole scientific explanation of why and how that happens, but.
That makes sense. I mean, I think, of course, the eyes are like the big gateways of allowing, but if you can really go to that measure of getting those amber LED light bulbs, and just taking and I've got a little amber LED like book reader. You can, if you spend the last hour of your day just like reading a book, or you can take like a nice lavender bath or something, like a nice relaxing Epsom salt or something bath.
Oh yeah, okay.
Or, meditate, for the last half hour, or before bed. You can easily occupy yourself for an hour before bedtime without any electronics. I mean,
I think on low blue lights they have those book readers like you were talking about, right? That you can just
that's what that's where I got mine. I have a book reader. The one thing, my only beef with that is their rechargeable battery isn't those newer rechargers and mine corroded, so I got to get another one.
Oh, I see.
The iPhones, they'll stop charge when the battery's charged, the charger turns off, so you can't overcharge it. Low blue lights has an older mechanism where their light reader, if you leave it recharging, it starts to go.
They got to get on it.
Yeah, I've been wanting to call them about that. It's like you got to update your rechargeable battery system here. This is like old-fashioned 1980s rechargeable batteries.
Yeah, they have some great products.
But I
not
love
just
it,
glasses.
though. It's not that, it works.
Yeah, I've wanted to get a Kindle for a long time because of all the great things about the Kindle, but I don't really want to read on some electronic device
I think it's just good reading an old-fashioned paper actual book, before bed.
I know.
At least that hour before nighttime when you're winding down.
Yeah.
But that is PEMF though. Light is PEMF as well. When I talk about PEMF, I'm talking about more about, I could almost say PMF, or pulse magnetic fields, because it really is pure pulsating magnetic fields.
Okay.
And it's at the lower Earth frequencies, brain state frequencies. But you certainly the light and all these electromagnetic, signals, they're all PEMF. I mean, pulsed electromagnetic fields, like I said, go from the low ELF radio, low radio, like the Earth frequencies, all the way up to gamma rays, cosmic rays. to super, super high frequency.
So where should we send people to learn more? Because I know your book is The Fifth Element of Health.
I would say,
that would be the place to go.
You said PEMFbook.com.
Okay.
My YouTube channel, I have a lot of the videos on PEMFbook.com with those videos transcribed.
Oh, cool.
So that way you can go to my YouTube channel and watch them all there as well. It's just PEMFbook.com has them all there, but with transcriptions in case you like to read or follow along and read while you're watching. Yeah,
because you put together a really cool kind of mini documentary about this whole thing. It's pretty awesome. I'd encourage people to watch that.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's actually hot. My YouTube channel is just YouTube/Bryant Meyers.
Okay.
And definitely, I encourage people to subscribe to my channel because I am going to be updating some more videos this year. So
yeah, you put a lot of work into these videos, and they're really cool because they're entertaining. They're not too long, and people can understand the concepts pretty easily.
Yeah. No, I got videos about pain relief in PEMF, better sleep in PEMF. Like you said, the little documentary, which is really from a chapter in my book with Brian Tracy, and I just kind of summarized, like just in a nutshell, even without reading my book, that little documentary gives a nice little, in a nutshell, what PEMF is and how it works. Just as we talked a little bit today about some of those ideas. And I got some videos like on the how the magnetic field's been declining on the Earth and why, and just a lot of interesting, informative, videos, and also the hormesis effect is one I've done fairly recently. Understanding that, I won't get into that now because that's a whole nother topic. But I got a 2-part video series that gets into that very, very important idea, which hormesis is basically healthy stress, or getting just the right amount, not too little, not too much, just right. So because in our country we tend to think more is better. The supersize me, more is better mentality can get us into a lot of trouble.
Right.
1 pill is good. Oh, if I take 2, that's better. Oh, 4 is even better yet.
Yeah.
But the hormesis effect is showing that. So, but that hormesis effect, I'm going to be working on a book on energy medicine, and that'll be kind of a foundational understanding of my whole book. But anyway, so those videos and more are on my YouTube channel, and also on PEMFbook.com transcribed.
That's awesome. So people can contact you there if they have any questions about the mat?
Yeah, they can contact me. It's just PEMF Book, all one word, .com. And there's a contact button if you want to just contact me, ask a question. Feel free. And like I said, a lot of good information there.
That's
awesome. And, of course, my book itself is still it's actually selling better lately. I've had some record sales quarters, like just recently.
Wow, really?
Not.
Yeah.
Even more than when I just released the book. It's actually selling better now than it was then.
Wow, these things sort of go in cycles. It's really interesting.
Yeah, it's been an upward cycle. It's like 25,000 copies sold now, but I've been selling more like this past quarter.
Wow.
My record. It's my most books I've ever sold in one quarter just recently.
People are just learning about PEMF for the first time, and just
it's starting to catch on. I mean, it's getting more. Dr. Oz in 2011 certainly was a big door that opened to getting people at least understanding. Okay, PEMF is something. There's a natural solution for pain relief. Dr. Oz really had a lot to. We can thank him for that big exposure, but still, even since then, it's just a gradual momentum because it really works. And I see this, especially the past half a year where I've been working back in, I guess you could say, kind of back working one-on-one with people again. So I'm actually training them and helping them, so I'm seeing firsthand. I kind of wanted to do this for a number of reasons. One was out of necessity with the company I'm working with. But the other was just to really see firsthand that this really is working. I mean, just from, like I said, some of the testimonials just in the past 2 weeks that I've gotten. I'm a guy that did a kettlebell workout for the first time, and his whole body ached. He got on the mat, and literally he couldn't believe that the pain went away. He's like, I still can't believe it.
Wow.
Because he was in so much pain because he had never done this type of workout with kettlebells before. And he said he had worked out muscles he never even knew he had.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
And Stan Burris, who I was telling you, he noticing his mental acuity, his energy. His friend Jack with cancer. I mean, Molly Rose had her fractured foot, and within 2 to 3 days, she was walking around Trader Joe's. She was telling me, "It's like I can't believe how well this has worked in just 3 days."
Wow.
But these are all just off the top of my head from the past couple of weeks.
Wow, so that's amazing.
So I'm seeing, but we see this on a weekly basis, like over the past, 9 years.
Wow.
It's just, so that's why I'm still I haven't really moved on to something else because there still isn't something that I've seen that has worked this well.
Yeah, my gosh. I mean, if it's working so well, I mean, that's amazing. And like you said,
believe me, I'm always testing and trying all kinds of other things.
That's what I was going to say, yeah.
Just last year, I tested out for a month this supercharged Rife machine, that was operating at a much higher energy level than even some of the best Rife machines out there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm always testing out what's considered the latest and greatest in energy medicine. But still nothing has competed with PEMF, just as not only from the research, we're talking 30,000 research studies, all these FDA approvals and, going back to the early 80s in the Eastern European, a long, rich history of research and validation. But I just firsthand, just seeing how it's worked for people, I haven't seen anything else.
Wow.
Create these kind of results. And at the end of the day, I want something that delivers results.
Mm-hmm.
It can sound great in theory, like this Rife machine, and he was a genius developer, and I respect him greatly.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't see. They are getting some results, but they're not nearly as many and as profound.
Wow.
And so it's actually more like $600,000. At this point, it's around $600,000 in things I've tried.
Jeez,
when I put that was when my book was 2013. So I've tried many things since then. So It's up to I estimate it's about $600,000 now.
Oh my goodness, that's crazy.
And I really to get to that number, I didn't just pull that out of thin air. I really tried to add up all the things that I've tried.
Wow. Do you still have all those things?
No. A lot of them have come and gone.
Oh wow!
I've actually gone to the point now where I've simplified it down to just, water, infrared, whole body vibration, PEMF, and just a lot of little auxiliary things like air purification, shower filters, amber lights, and just kind of. But because those are what I found is what I was actually using. And I just got tired of having a house full of stuff, so I just slowly got rid of the stuff I wasn't using.
Wow. We're going to close up the show here, but I just want to ask you one final thing. Can you share a little bit about the whole body vibration thing, the machine that you recommend for that? Because that's something that's also on my list.
Oh, yeah, the noblerx K1, which I've also collected nearly 100 testimonials with.
You like that one?
Yeah, that was just briefly, it was developed by NASA, for the cosmonauts. Because they, a zero gravity situation, they were finding all kinds of problems: the bone loss, muscle degeneration, to the point where they would have to be pulled off on stretchers when it came down to Earth, and blood clots too. A lot of problems with a zero gravity situation.
Uh-huh.
So whole body vibration, they developed a hybrid. It wasn't like the one, the original Galileo by Vladimir Nazarov. Wasn't even what they used in space because they had to modify it for space.
Mm-hmm.
But what it does is it creates up to, like with the noblerx, it goes up to, you're getting up to 800 vibrations a minute or more. And what that's doing is it's contracting and relaxing your muscles 800 times a minute. No other workout is going to contract and relax your muscles with that kind of at that level. And you're getting nearly 100% muscle recruitment, meaning you're not just working the involuntary skeletal muscles. Because when you work out with weights, you're just working your voluntary skeletal muscles, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're not really working out the muscles on the stomach lining, the muscles on the inside of your veins, and all these involuntary muscles that we really, like breathing, you could say, well, we got a little bit of voluntary control, but a lot of times it's just going on its own. But there's a lot of involuntary muscles in your body. And so PEMF, this is why it helps with urinary incontinence. helps with those muscles are very hard to work out without whole body vibration.
Oh, okay.
But whole body vibration strengthens those so that, this is why there's such good research on urinary incontinence with whole body vibration. Even though the best research comes from increasing bone density. We have, like in a 6-month period, if you take a bone scan before and after, I can't say everybody, but if you're in osteopenia, especially osteopenia, you can really lower your numbers and get out of osteopenia. If you're in osteoporosis, we've had some people get down to osteopenia and sometimes even out of osteoporosis. Most people buy it, the number, but those aren't even the main reasons people buy it. The top 2 reasons people buy it are number 1 for weight loss and toning, and number 2 for geriatrics, for elderly people, for balance and mobility.
I see.
It is such a great, great machine. Even like MS. I gave a talk once to a group of MS people, multiple sclerosis, because Patage Stiers, who was one of my customers at the noblerx, she had MS, and she was able to get rid of her walker. Now, she hadn't progressed to a wheelchair level of MS, but she got to where she needed a walker. And with the whole body vibration, they're even using, like with cystic some really severe childhood disorders. They're these kids that literally can't walk, muscular dystrophy type of situations, right? They're taking the kids on whole body vibration, and they have to get these inclines because they can't even stand up, right?
Wow.
And they get the incline so that they can gradually increase the angle with the kids to the point where they can stand up and even walk using whole body vibration. So for elderly people, the reason we get so many elderly people is because it helps not only with balance, it really does help to improve equilibrium and balance, but it just gets them to where their joints and their strength, because some people when they're older, they just don't have any strength. They have a hard time getting out of a chair.
Right.
So what this does is it just gives them it gives them a 10-minute workout where they're not going to go to the gym anyway. I mean, these are people that can't go to the gym, but they can stand for 10 minutes and watch a TV show while they're standing. So it's a very easy workout for elderly people, and I'm telling you, it can be life-changing with the benefits for an elderly person if they'll just stand on it for 10 minutes a day.
Oh, that's fascinating.
And then, of course, with the weight loss, it really does help. I mean, we've got some before and after pictures that look almost incredible, but those people were doing other things with diet, and but still, this was a big part of their weight loss. And it's not just working with burning calories, which, of course, it will burn some calories, but it's working hormonally with improving, and there's research showing it increases testosterone and HGH and other hormones that we know help to burn fat.
Ah, that's interesting.
It helps with detoxification and cellulite. Like, I've done many trade shows with a noblerx where I do demos, and this is a machine where you can demonstrate it and people are sold almost right away. It's like, wow, they know this is doing something. But one of the things people feel is this itchiness in their back of their legs, especially the back of their legs and their butt. They feel this itchiness, and I say, that's circulation opening up that was closed.
Wow.
And what it is it's literally like burning cellulite, because cellulite is a mechanism of the body to push toxins away from the vital organs. So when you get that circulation in there and help the body detoxify, the cellulite goes away. But the itchiness is always, I always say, hallelujah, it's working. They feel that itchiness, I know it's working.
Yeah. Because
that circulation's getting in there where it was so stagnant before. And so it works. There's I have an article on all the ways it helps with weight loss, but it's like 6 different ways beyond just burning calories.
Wow, that's fascinating. So
but those 2 things, weight loss and the geriatric mobility, are the top 2.
Wow. Yeah, it sounds like a great thing for people to look into.
And even people that aren't old, I mean, it's a great, I mean, it doesn't have to be your only workout.
Oh, yeah.
But some people use it as a warm-up, and it's a cool down, It's great for keeping the joints healthy and strong, your bone density.
Yeah.
If you want to prevent, of course, women tend to get osteoporosis more than men, but even men can get it. And this is a great prevention. If you use this 10 minutes a day, you can be assured that your bones are going to stay strong.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, resistance training helps with that too. But, because your bones, people don't realize that I'm not talking about the steroid users, but the people that really do bodybuilding naturally, and they got a great muscle tone, they also have very strong bones. Strong bones go hand in hand with strong muscles, because it's the force the body resists to that force by increasing in strength. And the bones will also get stronger. So whole body vibration works in that way to increase both muscle tone and bone density.
Yeah, it's sounds like a great machine. So people want to learn more about it, they can go to your website, bryantmeyers.com?
Well, that site is actually just noblerx.com.
Okay.
Bryantmeyers.com, PEMFbook.com currently is my main site for pulse magnetic field therapy. Bryantmeyers.com is a site it needs a lot of work. It's an older. I haven't really been using that, honestly. But at some point I do want to upgrade that website. But for the 3-day cleanse and the noblerx, it's just 3daycleanse.com and noblerx.com.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Well, thank you, Brian, for
thank you.
being
Boy,
on the show.
I can't believe how much time. I just looked up at the clock here.
No, we went 47 minutes over.
I had no idea we'd gone that long.
I know. Yeah, no, it's good information. So yeah, the best website are those 3 websites that you just mentioned.
Yeah. PEMFbook.com is sort of, and on my recommendations page, I have a link to the noblerx, But yeah, I would say if you want to go directly, it's just noblerx.com and 3daycleanse.com.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Awesome. Well, thank you for spending some time with us. Hang on the line there, Brian, and we're going to close out the live show. I just want to thank everyone for joining us and for listening and being a part of everything we have going on. We really appreciate it. If this is something that interests you, go contact Bryant and see if you want to get one of these things. We don't have any financial interest in any of this. Perhaps one day we'll get one and have a financial interest, but I just like offering you guys options and choice and letting you guys know that there are viable choices and options and ways to get healthy that you're not going to really hear about in any other capacity. So yeah, I want to let you guys know about that. And also, share the show with a friend. If you guys know anyone who might be interested in this, pass the show on via Facebook, Twitter, something like that, and share this with people that you know. I think they'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Just to let you know, this was episode 473. So if you want to go directly to this webpage on our website, it is extremehealthradio.com/473. We thank you. We love you all, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode. All right, episode 473 in the books with Mr. Bryant Meyers. It was awesome to reconnect with him. What did you guys think about that show? Did you enjoy it? I hope. He's a great guy, super, super smart, intelligent individual, really knows his stuff when it comes to science and biology and all kinds of stuff related to that. What I found was really weird was that he has spent, not really weird, but I guess just amazing, for lack of a better word, was the fact that he spent over $300,000 on all of this equipment, which is pretty incredible. As someone who owns a lot of health gadgets and health tools, I can attest to what he's talking about. Sometimes you just don't have enough hours in the day to use all of the things that you have. Like I said at the beginning of the show, I do the Relax Far Infrared Sauna and the Bellicon Rebounders every day. But some days I miss, and when I miss, I really am bummed out about it. But yeah, I have yet to even use a PEMF mat or even try one out, actually. I've never even used one, and I'm very, very fascinated by the technology. I've done a lot of research. I've watched a lot of videos, read a lot of articles, and just done a lot of in-depth research about it. But it's a fascinating technology, and it seems to make a lot of sense. I like what they say about it. I don't know, for me, if it would take the place of every other tool. I think there's so many different tools out there that can help improve your health. And I think they're all a little bit different, especially all the energy ones. I think all the tools are really different. Right now, I'm standing at my standing desk. That desk is available in our store. I like it a lot. And I'm using a zapper that I have. And a zapper is really great for helping, they say, to kill parasites. But it's really, really like a orgone energy device that helps send frequencies into your blood, which helps break down and kill pathogenic bacteria and things like that. And I just love these sorts of little health tools and gadgets and things, and I just think they're really great. And I think that, the more we can invest into these things, that's one of the things I really encourage people, spend the money and buy a Vitamix blender, buy a juicer, a good quality juicer. I'd rather see people invest in their health and then purchase things like that rather than something like a car or something like, just these things that don't really benefit us. And if anything, they may hurt the environment or stuff like that. So I'm really a big proponent in investing in your health. And, that means, spending a little extra money and going to that yoga class or buying a rebounder or buying some weight equipment, and doing a workout or just really anything that's going to motivate you and invest in your health, invest in your fitness, invest in all of that stuff. Because really, ultimately, that's what it's all about, right? I mean, we all want to live happy, healthy, disease-free life. We want to live a long time, and we want to be able to live during that time disease-free and pain-free. And so, it starts now. They always say that health is wasted on the young, and, people say that, but I think that it really takes some experiences for when you really get parts of your life taken away. Recently, a while back, actually June of 2016, only a few months ago, I had a debilitating back injury that really just, oh my goodness, I was laid up like you wouldn't believe. It took me at least a month to get back to normal. I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't walk. Oh my gosh, I couldn't even, if I wanted to call the ambulance, I couldn't even move and get on a stretcher. It was so painful. And I used, what it was that actually got me through that is a piece of technology, that helped me get through that. And it's called rapid release technology. And we had known a practitioner that uses one of these machines in our area. And she just so happened to be able to be in our area. And the timing couldn't have worked out. I broke down crying because of the kindness of this lady. And it was just, if it wasn't for this machine, I mean, I know the body will heal itself, but man, these things can really, really take you to the front of the line, I think, and prevent what could be months and months of healing and condense that into like a week. And I really think these health tools are amazing. I'm really excited to try this PEMF mat. What I'm going to do is I'll put a link to the PEMF device on this page, extremehealthradio.com/473. I'll put it onto this page. That way you can check it out. And what I'll do is I'll have it go through maybe Bryant's link or something like that. I'll connect him so that you guys can be connected with him. And then in the future, if I buy one, then, maybe we'll sell it or something like that if we like it and if it works as well as everyone talks about. So those are some ideas for you, the PEMF and the noblerx. That thing sounds really interesting to me. I have used a whole body vibration therapy. I don't remember the brand of the machine that it was, but it was in our gym for a good year and a half, and I used it every single time I went to the gym, and I really loved it. I love that high vibration. That's very similar to this rapid release technology that this lady used on my back, this practitioner. That thing was incredible. Oh my gosh. We're going to do a whole show on that here pretty soon because that thing changed my life. That thing was amazing. So yeah, the noblerx sounds really awesome too. I'm just sort of addicted to all these little health tools and gadgets. I'd rather be addicted to that than to things that are going to be damaging to your health. So I think it's great stuff. I really, really am excited about the PEMF and see where it goes. So right now, since we don't have one, we're not going to promote it, and you can't buy it through us, but I'll put a little link. It'll be like extremehealthradio.com/PEMF or something like that. Available at extremehealthradio.com/473. And then if we buy it right now, I'll just set that link up to go to Bryant's site or something like that. And then when we buy it, and if we like it, then we'll promote it and maybe we'll sell it on our website if it helps us and all that. So, so if you want a link to that thing, go to extremehealthradio.com/473. If you also want to check out the sauna and the rebounder, check them out. I highly recommend you get one of those things. They are so worth the money. I would say the biggest health tools that we have are the best, or my most favorite, are the sauna, the biomat, and what is the other one? The rebounder. Those things are just invaluable. I could not recommend. Recently, we just moved into a new house, and I could not imagine breaking down in a huge, big box wooden sauna. That would have been horrible. But this sauna it uses silver lining on the inside, so the light reflects on the inside. It's basically heat, but it's light, and so you sweat. You'll start sweating within minutes of this thing. It's incredible, and it's just the best. I cannot recommend these things highly enough. They're so awesome. I'm about ready to go walk the dogs right now and watch some documentaries while I do my 30 minutes of rebounding. And usually I do the rebounding before the sauna, but today I did the sauna earlier today, just the way it worked out, and then I'll do the rebounder. But it's really cool. The rebounder is just a great machine. I can't recommend it highly enough. That thing is awesome. So anyway, enough about all that stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed the show, and I hope you got some benefit from it. And if you enjoyed it, pass it on to your friends. I appreciate that a lot. Bryant would appreciate that. We need to get the word out to more people. And thank you guys, too, for reviewing us, rating, subscribing, and reviewing us on iTunes. That really helps us a lot, because the more ratings and reviews we get and the more subscribers we get on iTunes, the more we can get the word out there and let people know about what we're doing and how we can help them and all that good stuff. So you guys rock. Thank you for that. You guys are amazing. We have the best listeners in the world. I love you guys so much. So thank you for rating, reviewing us on iTunes. And also, I want to thank you guys, too, for buying through our Amazon link. You guys are awesome. Man, oh man, oh man. You guys are so cool. Thank you for that. A lot of you guys are bookmarking that link and using the bookmark every time you make a purchase. And people write in and ask, does it have to be health related? Can I buy like a sleeping bag, or can I buy some chairs on Amazon? You can buy anything. And if you go through our link every time, either on our website or through your bookmark, it helps us. So we appreciate that. So think of us next time you do that. And also, I want to thank you guys, too, for your patronage, I should say, for supporting us on Patreon. That is a great way to support creators out there that are doing work that you enjoy and work that you want to see them do more of. And it's my sort of hope and my, gosh, how do I say this? It's my dream in a world that is moving more towards the ability for people like you and I to create content, for more people to consume that content than to watch Fox News and to watch CNN and all this stuff. I swear that stuff is so toxic. And if people can get their news, their information from podcasts and stuff like that, I think that's going to even the playing field. And my dream one day is for Fox News and for the major media outlets to just sort of go away. And that all helps when you support people on Patreon, or you support people by buying through their Amazon link. And just, if you find any other podcasters out there that are doing great things, support them, please. Support us if you like us, like what we're doing. I really want to see people get information in other ways than traditional media, because I think that's so toxic. So thank you guys for supporting us on Patreon. You rock. Thank you for supporting us on Amazon. And thanks also, too, for checking out our store. We're going to be adding more product to that. I'm going to put the rapid release technology on there as soon as I can. And you guys are amazing. Thanks for, a lot of people have been buying through our links when you go to purchase, like, blenders and rebounders and juicers and things like that. So we thank you for thinking of us, going to our store, seeing if we sell it, and then buying it that way. That's awesome. So you guys are amazing. And so I hope you guys enjoyed everything we have going on. Lots of cool stuff. We have 3 shows a week coming up for you. So thanks for subscribing on iTunes and everything you guys are doing. I love you guys so much. And let us know if we can ever help. And I think that's about a wrap, everyone. Thanks, and we'll catch you soon.
No material on this blog is intended to suggest that you should not seek professional medical care. Always work with qualified medical professionals, even if you educate yourself in the field of life